Hi, this is Justice from Tablet Pro, and today we have Brad Colbo. I
Nailed it.
practiced it, and it's still so hard for me to say. It does not roll off the tongue. The way I think about it is like coal, like a lump of coal, and then a bow,
Yeah.
like a hair bow, not like a bow and arrow, because that would be really
Like,
cool.
oh, okay. I was thinking like a bow, like, hey, wouldn't this Cole make an amazing Christmas present? Let's put a bow on it. Yeah.
That's good. Just take it that one step further. All right, so those of you who
Yep.
who don't know, Brad is a awesome YouTuber, and he does his channel is about artists, tools for artists, and you told me yesterday a really great phrase that you're using to describe what you do. Can you share that?
Yeah, let's see if I can remember it because I just made it up like 2 days ago. I help illustrators and aspiring artists master their tools. Yeah. I think that's the new channel slogan.
Yeah, that's great, and that's exactly what you do. So if you guys haven't checked out Brad's content, it's absolutely worth checking out. Does a lot of reviews on different artist tools like tablets, Cintiqs, pens, and different processes that you guys can use. He also has a bunch of videos on Udemy. We're pretty sure that's how you say it. And
Yep.
videos on Affinity Designer. So if you guys are using the iPad or PC and you're doing vector work, he's got Illustrator courses and then also Procreate on the iPad. And a t-shirt design one, which I signed up for a merchant
Ooh,
account
nice.
based off of our conversation yesterday. All right, so today we're talking about how you pick between a Cintiq, like the top of the line drawing uh, hardware, between like a Surface, and between a drawing. Uh, what do they call the little ones that you put on your desk?
Yeah, like a pen display type thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
like a Wacom tablet. Yeah, something like
yeah,
that.
something. No screen on it, so you're not able to see what you're drawing. Where you're drawing, you're looking up at a monitor. So those are the three things that we're talking about, how you choose between those different devices and what the differences are. So Brad, do you want to talk about what makes the Cintiq the top of the line?
Yeah. So I think it's, the Cintiq Pro line that Wacom's been selling the last couple years, they've added a couple things to it. Yeah, the big thing is just the screen quality. They've upgraded all of their screens on most of the devices to full 4K. So you're getting four times the resolution as the normal HD monitors. The one exception being their smallest one, which is like the little 13-inch Cintiq Pro that you can get. The other thing that they're doing is they call it optical bonding, and basically what they're doing is they're taking the amount of space between the glass and the screen underneath the glass, and they're squeezing that together, so there's far less space. It's much more like your phones. There's almost no space in between the glass and the screen on your phone, and now drawing displays are starting to incorporate that sort of thing. So Wacom calls that optical bonding, and what that does is when you're actually drawing and you put your pen down on the screen in the past, what would happen is there'd be some displacement between your pen and where that cursor appears. And sometimes it could be hard to line up a line, or if you're looking at it from different angles, all of a sudden you'll see some, you'll think you're tapping in one place, but you're off by a couple pixels, and so you need to recalibrate your monitor and that sort of thing. So they've been able to do away with a lot of that sort of thing
Mm-hmm.
over the last just 2 years or so. Those are the top of the line, really expensive ones, though. So those are kind of the major things that the Cintiq line's been doing in the last couple of years. But there's a lot of other competitors to Wacom that still have so the 1920 by 1080 screens. They come with a pen. You could draw on the screen and see what you're drawing. But there's some trade-offs you make, but the price difference for making those trade-offs could be pretty big.
Yeah, what do the Cintiq Pros usually start at? What range?
Oh gosh, I think the 13 starts at about $800, and so you're not getting it's just a screen, right? So you're not getting a computer. You're not get. There's no operating system. There's no RAM. There's no battery.
Hmm.
So the whole, you got to plug it into your wall. Then you plug it into your computer. So all you're getting is the drawing screen, and then it goes up from there. I don't remember how much the largest one is 32 inches, and I don't remember how much that one is. The 24 that Wacom sent me a couple months ago, that one retails for about $2,000. So it's very expensive.
And just the
And then
screen.
there's the touch version, just the screen, yeah. And then the touch version of that screen, which is what they sent me, is a $500 more just to add some of those touch features to the screen.
Right.
So Wacom, it's good. I love drawing with Wacom stuff. The pen is phenomenal, but it is expensive. It is very pricey.
Right. Now, they do have a couple items in their line, or machines in their line that do have the PC or have the computer built in. Have you tested any of those, or do you
That's
have any
true.
thoughts on those ones?
Yeah, I had the chance to review the Wacom Mobile Studio Pro 16, and that was almost exactly 2 years ago. It's right before the holidays in 2016. And that was cool because you get that drawing experience. Like, really, I think when you buy Wacom, what you're buying is the pen. The pen is fantastic. And so you get that drawing experience, but this was obviously a full-blown Windows computer. There are some trade-offs compared to other things, like the Surface Pro, for example. There's pros and cons. One is you have shortcut keys directly on the display of the Mobile Studio Pro along the left-hand side. Although I think you can flip it, so if you're left-handed, you can put those on
Yeah.
the right-hand side. So that's one big difference. The other thing it's a pretty bulky machine, and I don't remember exactly how long I was getting the battery to last, but I'd say it was only about like 2.5 to 3 hours. So it is portable, but it's not as portable. Like, it's like you can take it places easily, but you got to bring your power cord with you. You're not going to
Right.
get a full day's worth of drawing out of that thing like you get out of some of the other Windows 2-in-1s out there.
Yeah, and they're saying you can get 8 to 10 to 15 hours, and some of the newer ones even in the 20 hours, which I haven't tested any of those ones before, but yeah, there's just a massive difference
Yeah.
between where you feel comfortable working in that.
Yep.
There's a couple new ones coming out that have really bright screens, like 700 nit brightness screens, where you could actually use it outdoors in the park and draw and stuff. I'm really excited to test those
Yeah.
out, but I haven't got those yet, but I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I'm
Right.
interested in
Yeah.
testing that out. So when we're talking about the Cintiq line, you have the drawing um, pad where you're drawing on the pad and there's no screen. Then you have the screen one, and the screen is just the screen, so it means you need to plug it into a computer somewhere. And then you have the Mobile Studio Pro, which is the most expensive one that has the computer built into it. Kind of bulky, has the best pen and the best pen performance of probably everything that's out there currently. And there's no jitter, and it has buttons built into the side, so you're not using part of that screen where you'd be looking at your program. You're not using that for touch buttons on the side. You're getting the entire thing. And battery life, not great. Would you say that's a good sum up?
Yeah. Not good. That
Not
is a
good.
good setup. But the other thing that's kind of worth pointing out here with Wacom is that you get the good pen quality, but the other trade-off you're making is at a lot of times is their touch gesture type stuff. It picks up a lot of accidental palm presses, and what a lot of tablet makers are doing, especially Microsoft going with the N-Trig technology, is one of the things that N-Trig does super well is that its palm rejection is phenomenal, right? So like
Right.
you get a little bit of jitter to that pen, but like when your palm is on there, probably because it's a battery stylus, I'm getting out of my league by talking like super tech stuff here as to how it actually works. But for whatever's happening here, as that stylus gets closer to the screen, it's not registering other touches and things like that, which is super handy if like for handwriting and that sort of thing where you're picking up your arm a lot. In fact, on my Cintiq Pro over here that's touch enabled, I was so frustrated using that, like with the touch, that like I ended up turning it off, and I thought, wow, that's a $500 feature. like more than the price of an iPad,
Yeah,
and I am turning that feature off. And because it just doesn't, it got in the way more than anything else.
right.
And that
Yes.
seems to be, across, kind of everything that Wacom does, unfortunately, is they haven't figured that part out, but they nail the drawing experience. So that's
Yeah.
another trade-off to make.
Yeah, best drawing experience, probably the least amount of setup for an artist. And you pick up one of the Wacom devices, you put it down or you plug it in, and you're pretty much immediately able to do what you're trying to do. So now when you go and you start
Mm-hmm.
talking about the surface line, and the tricky part is, and what we're talking about these things is, it's not that people have only one option. You don't have to buy the brand new, newest version to get a lot of the features that we're talking about. And you can buy last year's model or the year before. You can get new Surface Pro. I hate that naming mechanism. But the new Surface Pro, which is
I
the
know.
old Surface Pro, not the Surface Pro 6, it should be called Surface Pro 5. But you can get that one, the i7 top of the line model for $1,000 now, used, and it's going to be spec wise as far as computing power is going to be higher, more powerful than the Wacom Studio Pro, and you're going to be able to do a lot of the same things, but it's going to have some line jitter. It's going to have a better battery life, but you're going to have to take a little bit more time setting up those keyboard shortcuts. And for those who don't know anything about this channel yet, we do a lot of talking about keyboard shortcuts, and that's one of our goals is to make the drawing experience for people using just a tablet a lot smoother and faster. So Tablet Pro has touch shortcuts go on the screen. They're not as good, and they're different, is probably a fair way to say it. They're different than the express keys that go on the side of the screen on a Wacom device. But they take part of the screen. They don't work perfectly all the time. There's a number of situations where they don't, and the software has to be built with the new Windows Touch API, which means that it can work perfectly if the software is updated. But a lot of the programs that people use, like ZBrush or Photoshop, they haven't updated it yet, so they don't have the opportunity to use true simultaneous pen and touch interaction. Um, so you get a surface line, and you can get a lot of those same features with a better battery life. The pen experience is going to be a little bit wobbly. What else would you say about the surface line?
Yeah, I think the Surface line is meant for just a much, much larger audience, and I think what the average consumer needs or wants is like the battery life is king. You want to be
Mm-hmm.
able to take it with you all day. The portability of it, like that's the one thing is every time I review a Surface, I like especially the Surface Go. I loved
Mm-hmm.
it because it was so light. Like I haven't used the Surface Go since I reviewed it, but I can't. I don't have it in me to sell it because it's so cute. Like I was like, but I want to use it as my full time computer. I have too much stuff to
Yeah,
use, so I don't have an excuse to use it as my computer. But it's
yeah,
it's so small, and I thought the keyboard would be too small, but it's not. But it's a mass consumer device, and
right.
the design choices they made along the way were let's make it super lightweight, and whereas Wacom, they're thinking, how do we get the best drawing experience here? And so for them, the best drawing experience includes those shortcut keys, hardware
Mm-hmm.
shortcut keys. It includes a more powerful processor, although,
Mm-hmm.
like you were saying, at this point, the Wacom Mobile Studio Pro is 2 years old, so you're paying a premium for 2-year old tech there. So at this point, I don't know if that's really the best thing on the market. But yeah, but the choices they made in their design were really around that. Were around, hey, what's going to make the best drawing
Mm-hmm.
experience? Whereas Microsoft is kind of like, what's going to make the best tablet computer? And oh yeah, we have this pen you can draw with,
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that's where the big choices are made. And plus the Microsoft pen, they're thinking handwriting. They're thinking, like, yeah, they want us to sketch with it and draw with it, but they're thinking about how, like, they're thinking of 20 different uses for the pen, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to Wacom, who's only thinking drawing, 3D illustration, that sort of thing.
Yeah. There's a big difference between priority one and priority one of seven. I think that's where it sits with
Yep,
Microsoft. I mean,
exactly.
it's a priority, but it's not priority one where Wacom is that's their highest goal. So the
Exactly. Yep.
Surface Go, $350 device, does a pretty decent job for a lot of people, and you can get those little drawing tablets where you don't have the screen on there for $60, and you can get them for cheaper than that new, and you're going to be able to do a lot of the same quality of artwork, but it might take you a bit longer to do it, and it might be a little less comfortable. You're probably going to get stuck in your room
Hmm.
as opposed to being able to sit down pretty much anywhere. Not yet in direct sunlight, but pretty much anywhere besides there, and do some
Yeah.
work. Yeah, so you're not going to use the Surface Go
Oh.
for ZBrush or something, you know.
Right.
I just steal your lines.
Take it. Take it. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're starting to see some other stuff pop up that companies are starting to like take on the creative market, and like Windows based companies. HP has their ZBook X2, which I have sitting over here, which I did a review of that a couple months ago. I love that thing. Well, I shouldn't say I loved it. I The drawing experience on it's really good. It's using one of Wacom's pens. It's got some shortcut keys along the side. I wasn't a fan of the industrial design of it a little bit, but overall, I think like if you can find one of those now, they've heavily discounted them. It's got a nice i7 processor and it's got a good amount of RAM. It's very much in line with the Mobile Studio Pro, and the prices on the ZBook X2 have really fallen because it's about a year old, and now you can find them for like $1,000. And what you're getting in that package for $1,000 is really good. In
yeah,
fact, if you could find one for under $1,000, and you're thinking between that and the Mobile Studio Pro, I might actually go for the HP ZBook over the Mobile Studio Pro. We also are seeing things like at CES just this week. We had Lenovo of all places
yeah.
come out with this like a Surface
What was it?
Studio like I wouldn't call it a clone, inspired, which is this
Um,
big giant screen attached to a base. And they have some really unique ideas in there. I think
yeah,
they're also using Wacom's pens.
A940, right? I
Yeah,
think.
that's another one of
Yeah, I
those
saw
like
your
I'll
link.
never remember the letters and the numbers.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. Like when I first saw the design, I was like, I don't know about that design so much because it's got this like there's a pretty good sized computer underneath there, but it's kind of got this notch cut out on the side, so it's not symmetrical. But then I found out that what you can do with that notch is it's a phone charger, like an electric. I don't know
Yeah,
what they're called,
wireless.
but like a wireless charger. So you can take
Yeah.
your phone if your phone supports it and set it right there, and it will charge your phone. And I thought that is cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, that
So
was
you're
a
starting to see
smart.
companies experiment with that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know there's a handful more different computers going to be coming out. I think we talked earlier about the Modus, which is, again, it's like a 27-inch
Hmm.
screen with adjustable control arm, and you can put your own base inside of it. And it rolls around, and you can
Which is
put,
really smart.
yeah, 1080 or actually 2080. You can put up to 2 graphic cards in it and customize it to your heart's content and draw on the screen. Yeah, so there's a
Yeah.
couple different options. The Surface Studio is a beautiful machine,
Hmm.
but I guess I'm not a
But
huge fan. I'm not a huge fan, just because
yeah,
I felt like they skimped on the graphics, the
on the guts of it.
graphics card, and like they just every single time it was like at least a rung or two too far down the line where it's just like it's like, hey, I'm going to give you a Ferrari with a V6 engine. And you're like, it looks great, but I want more performance. I want to
Yep.
be able to do everything I want on it, and they just took it down one notch from where
Yeah.
I wanted it to be each time. And I'm
Yep.
not
And the
sure
big
why.
critique I've seen of that thing. Yeah, the big critique of that thing that I've seen is like a lot of folks are like, just give me the screen. Like, let me plug anything I want into there. Just to, take that base off and just let me plug in my own computer and just compete straight up with Wacom. And we haven't really talked much about like the Intuos tablet things, like something you're just going to attach to your computer like with a USB cable. Let me see if I actually, this is a nice thing about being at home, is I always have a tablet within arm's reach. Like this plugs in via USB, and this is all it is. I draw on here with a pen. It shows up on my screen in front of me. For an entry level, something like that, like a Wacom version, is probably going to cost you $60-$70. There's third-party stuff out there that you can find for as low as like $30 that works pretty well. And if you're just starting out and getting into digital art, that's not a bad way to go. And there are people who make phenomenal work. Like, you can make good work with any tool. That's probably worth pointing out here as well. Is the downside of something like this is that for me, I never really got good at the eye-hand coordination, because your hand's over here and your eyes are ahead on that screen, and you're trying to match up what your eyes see with what your hand is doing off to the side. And for me, that's always been hard. I like to draw on a screen, but that's... But once you get used to it, there's a lot of people who've gotten used to it, and there are a lot of people who use like the medium, like the middle of the road Intuos lines, and swear by it. And I know people who've had the same Intuos tablet for 10 years, and they love it, and they'd never let it go. So, I like the expensive stuff, but I'm kind of in a weird spot where sometimes the vendors will actually send it to me, so I can be like, send me your Wacom tablet. But I understand, like, especially on my channel, like a good chunk of my audience are entry level. They're kind of aspiring artists, and they're just getting into it. And so, from a cost perspective, going with something that's just a small USB thing is pretty good. Also, since we've talked about portability before, when I had a real job and I had to go into an office every day, I couldn't tote around I had a Wacom Cintiq 12WX was the name of that, from like 2008. I could take that with me, but I had all the cords and I had the pens, and it was a mess. And so that's what I'd use something like this guy for. Is it's super lightweight, fits in my backpack. I could bring the pen with me, and I could do little touches and adjustments on the fly. So it's not as portable as having a Surface where it's all there, but it's more portable than having a screen-based device sitting on your desk.
Yeah, so if you're just starting out with art, I think there's a lot of people who go like, okay, well, if I'm gonna do this, I don't want to pay for things twice. I'm just gonna go for top of the line. And, you have like these beginning artists who are like, okay, I'm going to art school. I need the Wacom Mobile Studio Pro, or and they spend like $3,000 on a device. I don't recommend that. I think that prices come down. So if you want to get something like that, you can start out with a $300 device or $400 device and get something that you can practice on. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then a year from then, if you're still doing the same thing, if you're still developing your skills, you can go, okay, well, now I'm going to buy that device, that dream device that I wanted, or that next step up. And you're still going to end up paying about the same amount of money because of the decline in the price with the passing of time. But then some people go... when you're talking
about computers...
If you get easily frustrated and you're like... hey, there's so many problems that I can't make it work. Honestly, you're probably going to frustrate yourself out of the process no matter what. If you're looking for an excuse, you have one every place, everywhere.
Yeah. I think I know people whose philosophy is buy slightly used tech or buy the older model of tech. And their philosophy is, I'd rather pay $1,000 every 3 years and get something that's like a year old than pay $2,000 every 6 years or every 5 years, right? Like you mentioned before, you can get the new Surface Pro. Well, yeah, sorry about that. It's early. Like the Surface Pro 5, which is also called the new Surface Pro. Like you can get the i7 right now for $1,000. You mentioned that before, or you could get the new one with the i7. That's a $2,000 thing. So it actually might make sense to get year-old tech now. Instead of lasting you 5 years, it might only last you 4 years. But then after those 3 or 4 years, what can you do? Well, you go out and you get last year's tech again for $1,000, and boom, that lasts you another 4 years. I'm really making you do math now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
but
you could do.
But you can really get away with that.
You could do what Brad and I do, which just buy the new tech and then sell it right before the next line comes out. Cut our losses, lose $300-$400, or buy it at a discount, and
except my philosophy is like buy the tech, review it, hang on to it for a couple months, sell it before it goes down in price. But at that point, at least like I've made a review video, I've gotten some ad revenue, and so it offsets the like $200 or $300 that I lose when I sell it.
Yeah. We'll do a cup take. I always get nervous about my cup spilling, so I just started using my daughter's sippy cup.
I was about to say, it looks like you got that going on.
Yeah, she uses the regular cups, and I'm using the sippy cups, and that doesn't seem right. All right, so one of the other things that is lacking on non-Wacom devices is that they very, very rarely have an ability to map what the pen button does, which is this little guy right up here. And so you're stuck with whatever the operating system gives you, which is typically right click. So one thing that we've done also at Tablet Pro is we've made the Tablet Pro pen tool, which lets you pick from a list of different things, or you can use input mode and tap right down here and then input whatever it is you want to do. I usually keep it at undo, Control Z or up, and then you can change what the eraser does so that it has a keyboard shortcut as opposed to just opening and closing different programs. This power button right here, and then this is the apply button and close button. And that's in the Windows Store as well. So if you guys are trying to kind of emulate what a Cintiq does, but you don't have a Wacom device, then that's a good way to add some function. Again, also it doesn't work perfectly in every situation, but it does work in ZBrush and Photoshop and a lot of the other ones where you're using Alt to either do navigation with 3D objects or color pick.
Yeah, so I guess to wrap up, like the big question that I get, the question I get the most is usually kind of a specific question about should I get this or should I get that, right? Like, should I get the Surface Pro or should I get the iPad Pro? Should I get the Cintiq thing or should I get like this third-party tablet thing? And really, all of those questions come down to it depends. And I have a hard time answering that for the people who are looking. Like, I'm really bad at saying, this is what you need. On one or two occasions, I've had people come back and go, I bought this and you said it was good and I hated it, And like, that's the last position I want to be in. So I think the key factors that people should be looking at here are, do you need it to be portable? Do you have a good computer? And do you need something that'll plug into that computer? Because that'll save you some money. Or do you want something do you need to replace your computer and get something that you can draw on, right? That's when you start looking at the Windows 2-in-1s. If you want to save a little money but get something to draw on, that's when you look at some of the third-party like Chinese display tablets that are out there. I think most people who get a Wacom tablet, especially the pro level tablets, they know what they want. They just are saving up money to get it. So I think that's kind of, that market kind of exists in itself. And then if you're just starting out and you're just not sure where to go, I think, some of those really inexpensive, like little USB plug and play tablets, whether you go with something like a $60 Wacom or whether you go with the $30 or $40, Huion makes some, XP Pen makes some, there's so many variables into what someone needs to buy at any point in time. I think those are the big things, portability, whether you want to replace your computer, whether you just need a screen, drawing quality, if you don't need the best of the best, Wacom's up there. If you're just starting out, maybe you can skimp a little and kind of aspire to get something better a couple years down the road.
Yeah.
That's usually where my advice comes from is, what's your budget? What can you afford? And the good news here is that across the board, in the 3 years that I've been doing YouTube stuff, the quality has improved dramatically. Like the worst thing you can buy now is better than the best thing you could buy 3 years ago. So
Right.
there's some good stuff out there now, and don't stress too much out of it about picking something up. Just kind of look for something that's in your budget that makes sense for you.
Yeah. So to summarize what you're saying, it sounds like you're saying if you can afford something and you know why you want it. So like if you're
Exactly.
looking at a Cintiq and you're like,
Exactly.
I want Cintiq because it's the best, you probably don't need a Cintiq. If you're like, I want a Cintiq because it has 8,024, or I think it's 8,096 levels of pressure
Yeah.
sensitivity, and it has 16 express keys on the side with a dial, and you're getting a better, the latency is a little better or faster, and
Mm-hmm.
what's it called? The screen distance, whatever,
Oh
the
yeah, the
parallax.
parallax is driving you
Yeah,
nuts. Yeah.
the parallax is really small, and you're gonna have programmable side buttons, and you don't have to install any new software. Okay, maybe you're ready for a Cintiq and you know why you want it. But if you
Yeah.
don't know those different things, that those things are not calling to you, that you're probably going to be happy with
Right.
something that you can install some software on and get a lot of the same functionality and do, 5 minutes or 10 minutes of setup in the beginning. And then if you're just looking for something, you're like, oh, I want to do artwork, but I really don't have a lot of money to spend. You can do great art. I mean, Cynix is a phenomenal artist, and he's got also his YouTube channel here, and he crossed 300,000 subscribers recently. But he is awesome art, great teacher, and he still uses that same tablet, that separate tablet where he doesn't
That
have the
little
screen there.
interface. Yeah.
Yeah. He just draws on it and looks at the screen when he goes, and he goes, yeah, he's comfortable with it, and he does awesome artwork. You can do great art on almost
Yep.
any of these devices if you don't give up when you get a little hiccup in the way. Um,
Exactly. Yep.
all right, any final thoughts?
I think that covers it. Go create something.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the last time we were doing a video and you stole my catchphrase. All right, guys, stay creative. And then you did it, and you did it better than
Oh, there you
me.
go.
All right, you guys. Yeah. All right. So if you guys haven't subscribed to Brad's channel, what is the actual channel called?
Um, I don't know.
Just
it's,
just search for
it's
Brad
my name.
Colbo.
Yeah, actually, honestly, this is the coolest part is search for like Wacom review, and you're just gonna see in the if you see yellow videos on YouTube, those are mine, like my
Yes, yellow
thumbnails.
videos.
So
Yeah,
that's the nice thing is I don't have to tell people how to spell my name anymore. I can just be like, just search for a review of a Wacom tablet, and you're gonna find it.
yeah.
So that's my advice.
Yeah, his reviews are probably the most entertaining of any reviews on YouTube when it comes to tech. I've laughed out loud. I literally have done it almost every single of those
Nice.
videos. So yeah, definitely worth watching. All right, guys. Comments in the bottom if you have a recommendation for new users, for intermediate users, and for professional users. Go ahead and put them in the comments, and we'll look forward to seeing what you guys write. All right, until next
All
time,
right.
stay
See you
creative.
guys.
We should talk to each other like this in the video. Hey, Brad, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, I didn't know you were here.
Look who showed up.